Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Hello everyone, this is Tim, and I think there's something going on with my webcam right now. I don't think it's very focused for whatever reason, but it's all I have, so that's what I'm going to use. I missed the last two sessions of this campaign, and Rajab1 or Rogier, one of the players, did recap videos in my stead, and I'm going to put the links down below in the dungeon. You can check them out. I also put his videos in the playlist for the House Roderick playlist that I've come up with. So feel free to check those out because otherwise you might be a little lost or behind the times of what's happening. So Marcus Roderick is being played by Eunice. Elena is Roderick is being played by Rogier, and Brander Snow, and all the stuff that's going on with him is being played by me. For the sake of this video, I'm going to say I when it concerns Brander, and then there's going to be a few instances where it's tricky to figure out who I is. So we're just going to start. So we start out with a flashback of Brander being in the north, except he wasn't Brander at this time. He was standing near a faceless body, and he was deathly cold. There was a canister of fire that he was leaning over, rubbing his hands, and he knew that when that fire went out, he was dead. There was a faceless body standing next to him, like I said. Uh, his face was wet, but he really didn't know what that was at the time. He was shivering. He was in another man's clothes, sort of confused as to what was going on. Uh, he remembered that he was sent north to kill a man that had been yearning for death for a long time, and that is Brander. That's his background with his abuse and the treatment he had with his father, and then the Night's Watch. So that's what this other character's goal was to come north and kill him. So we're starting to piece together Brander's background that there was this kid who was abused, went through the wall, but then he died at the wall. And this other character that is now wearing Brander's face, that's what we're assuming anyway. We could be completely wrong knowing Zig, but that's what we're kind of figuring out at this point, what's going on. So then there was a flashback within the flashback. This character that is possessing Brander, I'm just going to say I, was back at the house of White and Black in Bravos. And he remembered the scene when he was given the coin, the coin that is in the books in the Game of Thrones series that gets handed to Arya, the same type of coin, and it was handed to him. And then he flashed back to the original flashback, and I was holding the ornate coin and looking at it as I was slowly beginning to freeze to death. Uh, these strange memories started to filter in of this kid's life, of Brander's life, his brothers, his sisters, his father, his mother, all of these different characters and feelings and emotions, and the you know I didn't know where they were coming from or why they were doing this because apparently this was strange for me. This act of taking a face of another person generally doesn't have these strange afflictions, doesn't have these strange identity crisis type things. And at the same time, I started to forget my name, a lot of the details of my upbringing, of Bravos and things. It's almost like these memories from this face were it's like a hostile takeover of the memories and personality that was me. At least that's my interpretation of the things that were happening. Um, so Almsler, who was a wildling, came into the entrance of the cave and was sort of nervous and didn't really know what to do. Um, but basically, what happened is that I talked to Omsler, and I told Omsler I put in a good word for him at the wall if he would take me there. Perhaps they'd take him in because it looked like he was hungry as well. And then I gave him the coin, and I told him the words Valar Morghulis, and those are the words to say if he ever needs free passage way down to the south to Bravos to get out of the north, or wherever he would be at the time. So Zig thought that was interesting because that character now still has that coin, and that's an option for him. That might change things in the future. I like how Zig brings in background material and has you play it out throughout the campaign. These flashback scenes, because as you role play them, you flesh them out more, and those events might change the future. Um, on the way back to the wall, we found a lot of people with their heads twisted, cracked. Their necks were cracked, their heads were twisted around, in the same manner as those heads of the you know victims were in Bearhold recently. Those deaths, Edgum and the fishermen and things like that. Eventually, Omsford came to live with the Roderick household as the late Lord Roderick took him in and liked him, especially since he likes to hunt and he's a wildling. He's very good at it. Um, and then I woke up and I was laying in this forest area. There was muck and mud. It was wet. There was a small stream nearby, and Claudio, who is an Ironclaw, was there too because he's been teaching me how to use the survivalist skills, outdoor skills, hunting skills, these sorts of things. Basically just wilderness training. And Claudio was sort of getting freaked out by the things that I was saying because I was saying things about there being two paths and describing the path of Brander and describing the path of this assassin, this faceless man that I really don't remember much about. I have more of these memories and thoughts being Brander than I do my original self. So I'm sort of confused and lost and not knowing who I am or what I should do, what things I shouldn't do. And as this personality starts to take over, starts to gain strength, the Brander is coming down and this assassin is coming up. And other characters are starting to notice this. Rogier's character, Alina, notices that he's no longer stuttering. He is more confident, bold, cruel at times. But there's also things that are still there that she is familiar with. The holding women to a high standard and also defending their honor and being very chivalrous and things like that. So that she's starting to notice. I don't know if I think Marcus is probably noticing too, but he's probably just putting that all down to the Ironclaw training. That the Ironclaw training is really just putting him back together. He was a mess, and he's still kind of a mess, but he's better now. I think that's what Marcus is thinking, but I could be wrong. Um, so we talked about paths. House Glover had been invited to the upcoming funerals of Edgum and the late Lord Roderick, as well as the Alessa Wood Tower and Marcus Roderick wedding. And he also came to hunt bears. He kind of looked up to the late Lord Roderick and his ability to hunt, and that's what he was there for. But Alina was looking forward to him coming because he is the ruler of Deepwood Moat, and he's very um, he's a very high-ranking lord. He has some clout, so she wouldn't mind getting married to him. Hold on for a second as I rock my world's greatest dad mug here. Get some tea. So this is a scene where Almer was walking to the hunting party where Glover and Alina and these guys were, and he was being sort of snobbish and not noticing Brander. And while this seems like a very minor slight, like not noticing someone who killed your own father, he's understandably perturbed by this. But I had the assassin personality sort of take over that. He doesn't like to be looked down upon. He took that as a great slight to not even deign his presence. So I picked a fight. I went over there, tripped him. We started brawling around on the ground. Um, yeah, it just started to escalate as things went on. In the end, Almer's leg was obliterated. I just took the flail and just kept smashing down on the one leg until it was broken in multiple pieces. Fragments of bone are sticking out. It was just a ruin of meat and bone and cartilage. But in the process, this was the sort of thing that happened too, where Game mechanics wise, I could have just taken like a -1 penalty and had like a little injury to my eye or something. But I thought it was cool, more of a tragic flavor to go further, just to fail worse. Where instead of just, oh, my eye hurts, I said that, you know what, how about we just do this? Almer plucks out one of my eyes during this altercation. So I'm smashing his leg, and then he plucks out one of my eyes, and Glover is seeing all this, and it seemed like he was both interested and disturbed at the same time. He'd heard rumors about how brothers in the North settle disputes in very barbaric fashion. So, it was kind of like, oh, we're watching some of the some of the native color here. um, and he was talking to Alina at the time, and Alina was trying to smooth the waters over, because she was shocked. She's like, this is brutal. Um, and in the end of the fight, I won, but again, I lost one of my eyes, so I definitely was damaged from it. But I reached down and I just, probably about right here in the part, and just ripped off a chunk of probably flesh and hair as a sort of a last, like sort of kick him while he's down, sort of final move. It just shows brutality and cruelty. So it'll be interesting to see what Almer does after this, if he survives, because it sounds like one of his legs is going to have to be amputated. So, okay, so we got the Almer's hair. And then later, Alina was talking to Marcus, who who had seen the whole fight go down and didn't at all stop it. He mentioned to her that he didn't forget what Almer did. He almost split the house. He almost took Marcus's birthright. So he kind of figured, well, whatever Almer gets. He has a shattered leg now. He can't walk. That's what he gets. It's no skin off my nose. And with my character, with me, he said, well, he's an Iron Claw, and I'm an Iron Claw, and well, they're a rough bunch. And he basically just gave me a pass. It's like, well, you both beat each other up. You lost an eye. You're already punished. And that was it. There was nothing else. And I think that really shocked Alina. Another thing that sort of made Alina mad, I think, is that Marcus grabbed this tray of food that was ordered by Alina to give to Glover so that they could, have something to eat and perhaps talk over a platter. And Marcus is basically just shoving stuff in his food and watching this scene go down of brother against brother, tearing each other apart, shattering limbs and plucking out eyes. It just, I just thought it was pretty wild. It's like, wow, this is how Marcus is running the house, and it's very Marcus-like. He doesn't talk a lot. He's violent and of himself. We're a pretty rough house. Um, yeah. So Alina then headed out with Glover and without Almer, but she used that to her advantage because then she could have more of the time talking to Glover, and she made herself interesting. She was valuable to the hunt. She helped him out. She let him have the glory. He was able to kill the bear with a spear in boar hunting fashion, which isn't something you normally do with bears. And he almost, he could have died easily, but if the claws of the bear would have been to the left or to the right a little bit, he probably would have died. But in the end, they got a bear in a single day with the help of Almsler the wildling, leading the hunt as well. And they were able to skin it, and Glover was going to be given the bear skin, even though the bear was from Bear Island. Alina made sure that that was the case, and just sort of a gift of goodwill, I guess. Um, so let's see here. Uh, so Marcus was doing a lot of practicing in the yard. He's doing this thing called the brain spear punch, which I think is when you just drive the nose up into the brain. So he's been practicing that. And he's also been tumbling around with Alessa Wood Tower in his new bed because he has now claimed the Lord's bedchambers that were once claimed by Brander, by me. There was no new information on Edgum and the murderer. It seems that whoever had murdered this person covers their tracks well. They seem like they're professional, and the Maester is quite worried. Maester Tassild. He also said that Almer's leg is going to have to be amputated, probably. Since I was kicked out of the late Lord Father's room, I had to find somewhere to sleep. And since Belthier, the leader of the Ironclaws, had just died and his house was empty, I took it upon myself to go stay at his place, sort of squat in Belthier's house, which proved out to be an interesting choice later on. Um, Glover was happy and ecstatic that he had, bested the late Lord Roderick's, uh, hunting attempts. He just took it took a month to go get a bear last time. This time, Glover went and he got a bear in a single day. So, he was pretty proud about that. And Lord Glover seemed to be particularly interested in Alina. It sounds like they're going to get together. Um, Back at Bearhold, the family seat. This is where our family's at. Marcus was greeting the returning Ironclaws that had been occupying the Wood Tower lands. They gave him a lot of respect. He gave them a lot of respect. There was wine, women, music, and food. Lots of revelry and rowdiness. Marcus noticed, however, that Prod, he's another high-ranking Ironclaw, and Claudio and Brander weren't there, missing from the celebration. Prod had gone to see how Belthier died. He talked to Claw and Fang in the bear pits, and these were the guys that Alina told that if Belthier dies, I wouldn't mind. Basically giving a hint that Claw and Fang should just let Belthier die of his injuries, not to try to help him. And we're not sure. Maybe Prod found that information out. Um, let's see here. Oh, Alina noticed that instead of Claudio, who was a high-ranking Ironclaw, leading me, I was leading Claudio. I have intimidated slash scared Claudio to the point of being an underling of me. And Alina definitely noticed that. That's something that the old Brander wouldn't do. It wouldn't happen that way. So I lifted up Glover and, basically charged into the celebration, screaming at the top of my lungs that he killed a bear, lifting him up. At the end, I think I walked on the table and I was kicking drinks in the other Ironclaws' faces, just being rowdy, which they seemed to appreciate. And Glover was nervous at first, but then he appreciated all the attention he was getting. Um, so that was kind of fun. But Alina was very nervous. This is someone that she's trying to marry, and this crazy brother of hers is carrying and lifting up like a rag doll. Marcus, however, said something that me as a player and Alina were all shocked by. He sort of deflated Glover's ego and spirit when he pointed out that all of these Iron Claws uh, didn't need a spear to kill a bear. Basically, just like all the puffing up that I had done to help Glover out or whatever to get him to see us favorably. Marcus just basically just popped that balloon. He just deflated. He ended up walking out, and Alina noticed this as well, and she was attempting to get through the crowd to meet him. You know, and I thought this was kind of like a political snafu. It's something that as someone who might be a potential ally, I don't know. It was kind of striking, but it was kind of cool at the same time because that's very much in line for how Marcus is. So Alina Roderick entered the Ironclaw celebration, and she was immediately harassed and degraded by all these Ironclaws. And I, as I said before, hold women to a high standard, and I think they should be respected. So I flipped the table up, knocked a bunch of drinks over, and I just looked around the room like this angry glare. I will kill the next motherfucker that stares at my sister. And just making it point known. In the game mechanics, I burned a destiny point, which is like it overkill. I didn't need to do that, but I just wanted to make it known how strongly I felt about that. And after that, all the Ironclaws like kind of looked down and they were looking away from her. They weren't grabbing their crotch as she walked by. So I think Alina respected that, but I think she's also just scared of me. She's scared of what is going on with Brander. Who is this person? Um, Prod, the high-ranking Ironclaw, told Marcus that the Mormonts are close to calling their banners, and that House Rain has one of these Mormonts at their location, and they're talking. They're talking perhaps of taking up arms against our house. So that's definitely something that's dangerous and off in the distance, clouds gathering above us. Prod asked about how Belthier died, and Marcus basically said that he had an infatuation with Alina, and he beat him down like a dog, and he actually died of his injuries. So, he got what he had coming to him. Okay, so I'll stop there for a second. So Prod was talking to Marcus, and in the wake of Belthier dying, there was no leader of the Ironclaws anymore. And Marcus was also talking about things like, Almer's in charge of the infantry, but he has a smashed leg, so he's no longer worthy of that position. But that position wasn't filled. However, the leader of the Ironclaws was being talked about. I stood up and I said, what if I would challenge Prod for the leadership of the Ironclaws? And Marcus sort of took this as like, who's this up jumped bastard who he just joined the Ironclaws, and now he wants to lead them. He took that, he didn't like that very much, and neither did Prod by his like cold stare that he was giving me. And I basically asked, is there any, chance of me, taking over the Ironclaws? And Marcus just basically said, no. Just very Marcus-like, just straight to the point, short, no elaborations, no extra words. And as I was heading back to my chair, there's a lot of Ironclaws that were like, throwing some insults at me, and all the other players started laughing because, Brander doesn't take that shit. He headbutts people, he punches people, but at this time he sort of respected his brother, respected his scene where he was. He had already flipped the table. So he went back to his table, and he ended up just pulling a woman that was running by, topless, and he just started kissing her. One of the wenches that was running around. So Prod and Marcus talked, and Prod was going to be the new leader of the Ironclaws. In fact, Prod is going to take over for Claudio to sort of teach me a lesson, to take over my training, as it were, because I think Marcus can tell that Claudio doesn't seem to be in charge anymore, that I'm in charge. There's a sort of dominance, there's a student dominance over the teacher between my relationship and Claudio now. So Prod's going to take over, and I have a feeling it's going to be very rough. There's going to be a lot of like quasi torture scenes, I think, with that new change. And Marcus is also sort of frustrated with Brander's attitude. He just beat up Almer, even though that Marcus thought that was interesting and entertaining. There's just a lot of stuff going on with me that Marcus isn't sure about, and I think he just wants someone there to keep a better eye on him. Alina and Marianne, that's one of our sisters, was visiting Glover, and Alina got Glover to sort of be infatuated with her. It seems that there was some talk of marriage, and that might happen soon. It might even be at the same time as Marcus and Alessa Woodtower's wedding. We'll have to see. And for Marcus's goals of controlling and taking over Bear Island as a whole, having the Glovers allied with them, as well as perhaps the Frostfoots in the north, that gives them more strength, some more people to rely on if things go from bad to worse. And they kissed. Glover and Alina kissed. I don't remember Lord Glover's first name, though. Glover told her that he would talk to Marcus about the possibility of having her hand in marriage. And Alina also mentioned that Marianne should come with them if they leave. Because Alina does not like the way that Marcus is running the house. She thinks that he lets too many things slide by the wayside. He's not, I don't know. She just doesn't like the way that he does things. In some ways, she thinks that Marcus is worse than the late Lord Roderick's rule. That his way of doing things is just, I don't know. It's unsustainable, perhaps. So next time, I believe it's going to be Rogier and me as players, and Zig as the GM, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you later.